Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Very happy to be able to sit down with Anastasia from Freedom Watch. She was willing to give us a few minutes of her time to tell us what Freedom Watch is doing and why she's here at the conference. Anastasia, thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Justin. As you mentioned, we are Freedom Watch, and it's a small group of about 6 developers, and we have a couple people on our marketing team, and it's basically a platform that will be completely anonymous. And of course you can't say completely because there's the whole Turing problem. You cannot guarantee that you will not be hacked, but our goal is to be as robustly anonymous as possible.
Okay.
So that, for example, if it's a whistleblower who wants to share some information that is important for the public to know, but they may be deterred from sharing it because of the fear of retaliation, we want to provide that avenue. Edit the voice, spoof their Wi-Fi, be very, very careful with their information in a way that makes it untrackable for the government or an attacker to look at it. We are hoping that the platform will be used from anything smaller, like let's say you notice ageism at a workplace and you don't feel like coming out publicly,
Sure.
but you might want to leave a note, to something more serious like protest coordinations, and things like that. So we're using the blockchain for that because it's uniquely suited for the data privacy and data integrity as well, because we want to make sure that there's no that nobody is changing the message some way halfway. And then as well we have potential to reward everybody who watches the videos if they want to act as a node. So they will be saving part of the server space and acting as internet providers for other users,
Sure.
Which gives greater anonymity as well. So basically, the bigger the network, the more privacy and anonymity it will be giving to each individual user. And then if you do decide to, as a user, give part of your bandwidth that you're not using currently, you will also get rewarded with tokens.
So, okay, the way I understand it is you guys are focused on building a platform where people can come forth with information that they want to share publicly, and that they want the public to have access to the message, but they don't want their identity tied to it. So a completely anonymous network for sharing information of any kind.
Exactly.
And that's very critical for individuals to use that are living in totalitarian regimes, or that might face kickback or blowback from their workplace or from their employer or their friends and family, any kind of situation like that. Unfortunately, we do live in a world where sometimes you just can't say what you mean without fear of retaliation. And that's kind of what motivates you guys, that's what you're trying to build?
Exactly, and we do want it to be an impactful platform, which means that we want to make it engaging. So we're also thinking about all the different ways we can make it more interesting for people to watch it, because Freedom Watch is a very serious name. You hear it, you think WikiLeaks, like, oh, who has time for that, to be reading through all the documents. So we're also thinking of the ways to make it fun, maybe have like a Snitch subsection, just to make it more interesting. But the idea itself, I think we are trying to be scalable and not have to have the need in any moderators. So we're expecting to have the community that will be completely self-governed.
Sure.
And I think that is inspiring in terms of democratic process. It will be just its own thing.
So how does the platform look like? And I guess a few technical questions. So you guys are building, this is a layer 1 blockchain?
Yes.
Okay, so this isn't a sidechain or a second solution or a second tier solution to Ethereum or Bitcoin. You're not building on top of anything.
Well, we're building a lot of our things from scratch, and part of the reason why is because it's not quite possible to do something completely anonymously. We would still need to have unique user identifiers, even if we hash them first. it's still trackable in a way. So we are making two different kinds of logins. A login for somebody who is okay with their information being very secure but not 100%.
Right.
And then we will be making a one-time use logins for people who feel like they are in extreme danger.
Sure.
So to handle that, that's why we need to code our blockchain from scratch.
Sure.
But then with the security part, like the SHA-256 and the hash functions, all of that we will be using from existing libraries because it's just so much safer.
Sure. So you guys are using, you mentioned SHA-256, so you are kind of taking the Nakamoto consensus protocol, essentially just repurposing Bitcoin and its hashing function to redo what you want. So it's a proof of work blockchain, not proof of stake. Is there a reason for that? Did you feel that proof of stake wasn't private enough?
Well, we didn't think that the videos or photos or post itself need to be encrypted or protected that much because it's public information. That's the whole reason why it's been posted there.
Sure.
But then in terms of protecting the user's identity, it becomes very difficult very quickly. Same thing with smart contracts. They might look very secure, but then there are other vulnerabilities like time of check to time of use that may not necessarily be in the code, but things can happen.
Sure.
So that's why we are slowly just adding more and more layers of complexity in terms of protecting the user's identity, and then everything else, like the tokens, will come next, and we're not too worried about it at this stage.
Yeah. Just focused on building up the right thing for the right purpose, which right now is getting messages out there for people who aren't safe.
Exactly.
It's a proof of work chain, so you mine it. I would assume that right now you guys can probably mine from a laptop.
Right.
Yeah?
Well, right now we also giving some out just to attract the users for embedded testing.
You're talking about the tokens?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And what is the name of the native token on your platform?
Snitch.
Snitch?
Yep.
I like it. Cool. Maybe the first time I'd ever want to. Well, I don't know if I'd ever want to be called a snitch, but if I could have a snitch or two, probably be okay. Yeah. So privacy is something that I care quite a bit about.
Okay.
What is wrong with using modern approaches of getting information out there, such as, WikiLeaks or carrier pigeon or scribbling something on the wall in your own blood? And what's the big benefit to using
Exactly.
the blockchain in your platform?
So I think our unique value proposition is that, for example, you can see somebody in need, and let's say, up to 40% of UC Berkeley students on a daily basis experience food insecurity, and they have to go hungry when they would rather not. But it might be a very stigmatizing sort of thing to come out with. So let's say I see somebody make a post that they are hungry right now, and I will be able to give them the token that they will hopefully in the future be able to transport into real money. And the benefit of that is that I have a complete trust that the person that is intended recipient receives the token, but I also don't need to know their identity, which is unique in that way because with traditional financial institutions, you kind of need to have an intermediary who, so the privacy in terms of money exchange is, a harder thing to come by.
Sure.
Right, but then again, we are not quite worried about raising money with the coin. We're more worried about at this stage protecting the privacy of people because it's a very serious thing. We wouldn't want to risk and not get it right. Yeah.
So the way, you said that it's a video and document platform, so it's going to look similar to YouTube, something like that, right?
Yes, absolutely. On our user testings with the wireframes, we usually say, hey, this is a completely private blockchain YouTube.
Yeah.
And then it connects with people quite quickly. They understand exactly what it is.
Okay. And, if I'm on the platform utilizing it, you were talking about that food example. So if I like a content creator on there or somebody who's publishing material to there, I
Right.
can reward them with token.
Exactly. So you can reward them with a token, and that kind of brings another important question about potential abuse of data. Because if I'm creating something from scratch in such a way, so I don't want to leave a backdoor for myself. So if I'm scrambling the data as much as possible so that I can assume that, okay, both keys and the blocks, everything is out in the open, and it's up to the encryption algorithms to make it look like noise, but it's all out there. And if I don't leave myself a way to follow who posted what, that means greater security for people as well, because what if our platform gets attacked? But at the same time, it means that if somebody posts abusive content that is not meant to be there, like child pornography, there is nothing that we will be able to do to follow it back. So we are definitely thinking about not making that content impactful, and we will have some flags in place. So if you see something you like, you will give a token. If you see something you really don't like and I think it's problematic, you will flag it, and it will get suppressed, and at a certain point completely deleted. And as we scale, we're thinking of adding base nets to kind of look at the way community reacts to different things and make the algorithm teach itself to react in those similar ways. And then we will use a combination of base nets and community monitoring. And I think that is important also because we don't want to have moderators, because moderators have, it's just a single human with their own biases. I think community decisions are more reliable, like the wisdom of crowds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a difficult problem to solve, building a platform where people can share what they want, which is a huge need, which is a huge use case. But it seems very difficult to make it in such a way that you can be resistant to attack. And
exactly.
There's just, we've tried to build so many open platforms for people. And in general, I think the good focus is you can never build something that's perfect. You have to build it, is it functioning? Is it good enough? Is it servicing the greater amount of people than it might be affecting negatively?
Exactly, and that's why I like to think and to say that we're trying to create robustly anonymous platform, but not completely anonymous, because again, with the right amount of resources, you can actually hack into anything.
Yeah, you can gamify anything.
And in the end of the day, there's this joke, why try to break into why spend $250,000 into breaking into a particular person's iPad when you can just get a hammer and threaten them and open it for free? So there is a human factors. It's not 100%, but we are thinking about every single way how we can add as many layers of anonymity as possible. That's why the bigger the mesh is, the more privacy it gives, because we can kind of bounce the IP addresses, and we're also thinking about fuzzing the timestamps a little bit for the blocks that are single login. There's a lot of issues. Even with posting a video, if you have the format, it already gives you a clue what kind of device it was posted. So we're thinking, do we crop it to make the data more secure, or do we leave it, because what if we crop part of important information? But then at the same time, you can already narrow down to users of a certain device.
Sure.
Yeah, so we have a lot of different interesting technical challenges to solve.
Naturally, it's a complex technical problem, but I'm glad that you guys are trying to solve it, because that is something I think that is important. So, where can people go to find out more about you?
So we are due to present for our Series A sometime in the beginning of December, and we will be doing our beta testing for students at UC Berkeley, their anti-bullying and anti-discrimination office. It's going to just blast an email to everybody to get the app. So it will be students on the app for the first year while we practice and hopefully have a lot of students try and break into our system, and we will invite that so that we can build that robustness.
Great. Well, Anastasia, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate you telling us about Freedom Watch and just giving us your time. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Anastasia.